Welcome back. We're back with another episode. It feels so good to keep getting these out, like I always say, and it's gonna be a good one today. There's a podcast I watch by Al Franken, and he always says, "For a change." It's gonna be a good one for a change. So we're gonna have another good one. I felt like yesterday's episode was just so on spot, on point. I just felt like it was really what I've been wanting to get said for a while, and I'm really glad I got that message out. Church hurt's a subject that's very big, and it has a big impact, like we discussed. And it goes so much deeper than just, oh, somebody said this to me or that. These are institutions that we trust. They build our trust. They're our community in a way, and the church is supposed to be the body of Christ. So when you get hurt by it, it does hurt. And let's all be just fair here. There's no perfect church out there. Any church you go to is going to come with its problems, and that's kind of part of humanity. Is we can't get everything right, but we want to be in places that are trying to promote us, that are trying to do right. When we make mistakes, they can notice their mistakes. There's a lot of different ways you can get hurt by the church. Yesterday we talked about how Christians kind of went off on slavery and just allowed that for years and promoted it. We talked about how, they recognized that slaves were humans because they tried to convert them to Christianity. They still enslaved them, but they wanted them to be Christians. So, they knew these people were completely human just like them, but they just weren't human enough or worthy enough of being free humans like the white people. But whatever your views are on that, it's very real what happened back then. It's very sad. It's a very sad part of not only American history, but I would even say church history. As like I said before, a lot of those slave owners were church leaders. They'd be called strong Christians in their time. It could be a little bit questionable if they were actually strong Christians if they were enslaving people. But yeah, that's a hot topic. I'm glad we got that discussed thoroughly. And we'll talk about some other things. Women in the church have been marginalized by the church for many, many years, and we're still trying to fight for them to get fully included in all areas of the church. And there's a lot of churches and denominations that are allowing women to fully participate, and that is so great. And in the church community we're building, we're going to do that. Women are 100% allowed. And my denomination, Mennonite Church USA, women are fully allowed to serve in any capacity. They're equal to men, and that's how it should be. And let's talk about LGBTQ plus community. They've been very marginalized by the church over the years, and we talked about that yesterday. And there's all these different ways that the church oppresses these groups, and it's all very, very sad. When it happens, it is. But the good news is there are people fighting to change the way that many churches view these groups, and there's good things happening. And that is one thing to be very happy about is that there are many churches starting up and churches turning the page, and they are allowing women, the gay community, they are allowing people of all races to be involved in the church, and it's so great. And I have to say it like that because there's been so many years where this hasn't been allowed. And but I see a lot of churches that are trying their best to do this, and it's great. Another group that I have seen being promoted is there's a church here in Ohio. I won't say the name because all the political stuff. We don't want to put any pressure on anybody, but this church is doing a great thing by their Hispanic ministry with Haitian immigrants. And a lot of them, they're very scared of what's going on right now, but they have a strong Haitian community in their church, and they are doing everything they can to promote them in this day and age. And that is so exciting to see. There's other groups, like in my county, there's a group that is helping Hispanics in this tough time, and we're going to continue to promote those. And if you can give to organizations like that or churches like that, do it because it can go a very long way to help these people who are being oppressed. Well, that was a highlight of what we talked about. Today we're going to talk about church hurt on a more personal level. I don't know if I shared it yesterday or not, but you know, one of the big church hurt things for me was when I was in the army, and I talked about that, about how when I went to the army, everybody kind of just left me. It was a very low point in my life, and I really had nobody there, and there was no church community to surround me. And I eventually found out there was actually a Mennonite community up there. There's a church right there in Watertown, New York, right where I live. And if I only would have found that church then, maybe things would have went different for me. Um, but everything worked out. And I wish I would have had a church community around me back then. But I just didn't. And you know, people are made for community. And whether you find community in the church or you find community through this group or that group, we all need to be in community with people. In this day and age, you don't even really have to be in a community in person. If you're not a people person who likes to be around people all the time, or crowds kind of freak you out, there's so many online communities, gaming communities, online churches. There's so much that you can do online now. And I think it's great. I personally think it's awesome. I've mentioned it on here before, but the Intention Church, a fully online community. It's a full church, and you can be involved. Just go to the Intention Church website and look at it. There's so much you can get involved with them, and it's so great. I love watching their videos, and I loved participating in their service the time I did. So if you want to do that, look up the Intention Church on Google or whatever you look it up on. And yeah, go to their website, and they have links there. You can go to any of their services when they're happening, and you can watch their messages. They're all preloaded on there. So yeah, it's a great thing, and there's so much we can do. But church hurt. That was a big way I was hurt by the church personally. Was what once I kind of graduated and left, nobody really talked to me. Nobody reached out to me. There was no faith leaders pouring into me, and I feel like that was a really sad part. And now me going into ministry, it's like, how do I not make people feel like that in the future? Because it is hard. It is hard to keep up with everybody, but we should be doing it. We should be trying to make people feel loved, and people that are involved in our church communities, we need to be reaching out to them, especially our young people. Our young people who are just going off to college, or they're going here, or they're going there, they're moving away. We need to let them know they're still loved. And the one thing at the church I've been involved with for a while now is we gave care packages to people who were going to college. So if you were in college, we sent you a care package and say we're thinking of you in your studies. And I feel like if I would have had a care package, maybe I would have felt a little bit more loved. But this isn't a pity party, but it's just how I felt like I wish I would have had that. I wish I would have had somebody pouring into me in that time. Church hurt is also, like we talked about, there's kind of like this idea that the stuff that they teach you kind of makes you scared of God. And that's how I always felt when I was growing up. I was scared of God. Um I would stay up just thinking about, oh, I might go to hell or this or that. And with my kids, I don't teach them stuff like that. I don't want my kids thinking about eternal damnation. They're kids. They don't need to hear that. Um, but the thing about that is that kind of creates this thing in kids' minds where they worry about it. They worry about what they're doing is gonna harm their eternal life. Which, yes, we should be acting in a way that reflects God, but we should not be just living in fear our whole lives. And what I don't like about the hell theory is that when people think of hell, they say you got to be a Christian because you don't want to go to hell. Well, if you're just doing good things so you don't go to hell, you're not really doing good things out of the kindness of your heart. You're doing it because you're afraid. As Christians, we should be wanting to love people and show love and do the right thing because it's the kindness of our heart. It's a heart issue. And we want to do that because we want to serve the Lord, because He's the one who fills us up with goodness. He's the good things in our lives. He's the Holy Spirit. And we should not just be doing things or going to church just because we're afraid of hell. It's not a reason to go. We should be going because we want to reflect God. and we want to have that joy that he fills us with. We've talked about a lot of different topics on this channel, and it's like I don't even know everything we've talked about so far. This is episode 12. It's part 2 of Church Hurt, but this is episode 12. So we've done a dozen videos now, and it's very exciting. But one thing I don't want to do on this channel is shy away from issues that I see are important. And on here it's kind of a little bit more of an open community. Yes, I have a big community out there watching me, but I'm the only one sitting here right now, and I'm talking to a camera. But these are meant for all of you, and if you've been hurt by the church, I want you to know I sympathize with you. In any way you've been hurt, I understand it. It hurts you deeply when you're hurt by a church community that you trust. It's just very hard. It's not an easy thing to go through, and I sympathize with all of you. And I'd love to hear some of your stories. If you ever want to tell me, share them with me. Reach out to me. Tell me about it, because I understand that it's a very hard thing for a lot of people, and I've been hurt in other ways by the church. Those are a couple ways I've been hurt, but you know, church is gonna hurt us. We're never gonna be in a perfect church community, but the thing we want to be is in a church community that can recognize when they hurt people. When I was going to college in person, I go to college online now. It's just a lot easier with a family, and it's it's a much easier format. I feel like I thrive more online. But I did a semester in person up in Akron. Grace College and Seminary has a program up in Akron, so I went there for a semester. And while I was there, I met up with this guy who was running a church in Akron. It was much different. It was a much urban community. I'm from a very rural community, so it was interesting learning about his ministries. But they were trying to grow their church because the church had really dwindled. Um, but one of the things that he told me was he said he hadn't gone there that long, but he was the pastor there after just a few years of going there. And he told me, we had to take a deep look at why people weren't coming. And one of the reasons that they said is we've hurt people. This church has hurt people. And there have been people in that church community who had been there when people were getting hurt by the church. They sent out letters to some people, they apologized, saying, that's not who we are now. We're trying to move past that. I think that's really healthy. For a church to say, yeah, you know what, we made a mistake. As a community, we made a mistake. That is so powerful when you reach out to somebody and tell them, we're sorry. I mean, we realize our mistake. This is like stuff we teach toddlers, stuff I teach my kids. Like, say sorry when you do something wrong. Don't let your pride just act like you're always right, because nobody's always right. So I think it's very important if we can at least try to reconcile stuff. And maybe if it's not even reconciled, we just want them to let somebody know that we care about them still and that we're sorry for what we did. That really shows the love of God. It really does. And you know, we're humans. We're not going to be perfect. We've talked about that a million times on here. But we should be striving to build better connections. And by doing that, we need to be people who forgive and people who admit when they're wrong. But it's a very hard subject. Church hurt, once you're hurt by the church, like we said, that's a community you trust most of the time. And it can be hard. There's other places I've seen the church hurt people in other ways, and I thought I'd share a couple different um just ways the churches hurt people so people can see. You know, People go to their pastor for marital counseling all the time, or they go to their pastor for counseling of any kind. And I knew a couple that went to counseling, and basically they just told the woman she was wrong. If you would have been a better wife, your husband would have done better. And that's so sad to hear coming from a church leader, is saying, you know, it's your fault. And it's your fault because X, Y, and Z, when it's actually not their fault. I mean, in a relationship, it's a double-sided sword. It's both people's fault usually. There's usually wrong on both sides. If it's a healthy, I wouldn't say healthy relationship, but in most relationships, when it doesn't work, it's not just one person. Maybe one person makes a bigger problem. That can be a real thing. But they just told her, you're the problem. Your husband could have been such a better person if you weren't his wife. And they told that. And that is um so hard to hear. It's very hard. And in that situation, I want to say, pastors who are bringing people in for marital counseling and telling them, it's your fault because your husband could have been a better person, a better leader in the church if it wasn't for you. Um, how does that even sound like a healthy church environment? It doesn't. There's no building up to try to fix the relationship. There's no trying to build a better community. It's just, this is what we want your husband to be, and you're not fitting in the equation. So I don't even know what they told her. I don't know. I wasn't there, but it's very sad. Other way I've seen the church hurt people was there was a young couple in a church I attended where they had a very strict dress code, and the wife didn't conform. Those strict dress codes, the conformity that you have to have as a woman to dress in a certain way at certain churches. And she didn't dress that way. So what ended up happening was, the pastor just belittled her and belittled the husband. And the husband stood up for her. And did they keep going to the church? No, they didn't. Because, when you hurt people in the church, it's very serious. And I would never say the names of any of these people or tell you where this all went down because I'm not here to attack anybody. I'm just here to share stories, let you know that people have been hurt by the church too. And I've seen it and you've seen it. And we need to build a better community. And like I said, that comes back to we have to be willing to admit when we're wrong. And we need to try to build communities where we are promoting positivity while also promoting God's love and forgiveness and reconciliation. And I just had a thought that I was thinking of today, and it was along the lines of just church hurt and how that goes about. And I thought maybe I'd share it. It's might be a radical idea for some maybe more conservative Christians, or just maybe some more long-term Christians, and for some newer Christians, this might not be as radical. Maybe you're a long-term Christian and it doesn't seem so radical. But in my mind, um, pastors aren't counselors. Pastors don't have master's degrees in clinical counseling. Um, you can mentor people, you can give advice, but when there's a serious issue, you're not a counselor. You're just not. Um, you know, you need a professional help sometimes, and I feel like there's a lot of pastors who like you don't need to go to professional help. I am the professional help, and me as a pastor, I understand. I'm not a clinical mental health counselor. I'm not a licensed practical counselor. I don't have my master's in counseling or master's in social work. I can't prescribe medicine. These are serious issues that need professionals. And pastors should be there to help in every situation. And I think, there's some counseling you can give, but you should not be hitting these hard pressed issues and relying on a pastor who's just not trained in that. You're not. And yeah, when there's marital issues and there's serious stuff going on, you're not a trained counselor. You're just not. You might have taken pastoral counseling classes or introductory to psych. I took intro to counseling. I took intro to psych. I took marriage and family, another psychology course. But I'm not really qualified to be a professional medical person because I'm a pastor. I'm majoring in ministry. I'm not majoring in counseling. So I think that's a disclaimer on this channel that you have to have is that I understand that pastors are not clinical counselors. And if you are a pastor who agrees with what I'm saying about this issue, I think that's healthy. Because I think when there's serious issues and there's serious mental health issues, us pastors should not be trying to fix it in a way that we're not qualified to fix. And in this day and age, there's people that are trying to say that medical professionals aren't even um anything. Just go to your pastor for everything. Your pastor can fix anything. Your pastor is a counselor. Your pastor is a pastor. Your pastor is a teacher. Your pastor is a financial guru because they're a pastor. And it's just not true. Pastors are not experts on everything. Neither should they be. Nobody is an expert on everything. And we should not be treating our pastors like they're experts on everything in the world. That's why we have volunteers in the church. Our pastor shouldn't be doing everything. Um, that's just where I'm at on that. Our pastors have a role. They have a serious role to shepherd the flock, so to say. But the pastor's not a mental health professional. The pastor is just not an accountant usually. Some pastors might have history in accounting, but if you're not qualified in it, you shouldn't have to be an expert on it to be a pastor. But yeah, church hurt, it's very, very serious issue, and it's this is where kind of deconstruction happens. Is people get hurt by the church, and they begin to deconstruct their faith. Or the big thing for a lot of people is they're raised in church communities, and they grow up and they start asking questions. In some church communities, they get mad when people ask questions, and they say, you're not a real Christian because you asked that question. And I want you to know here you are safe to ask any question you want. Like I said, any of you can get a hold of me. My Instagram page, the Noah Show 2025. If you want to relay anything to me, message me privately on there, and I will be glad to get back to you. But yeah, it's very serious stuff. And if you've been hurt by the church, you're welcome here. If you have hard questions to ask, you're welcome here. And if you don't even know if you're a Christian at all, you're welcome here. Everybody's welcome here. Like we said before, this channel might not be for everybody. Some people might not like what we discuss on here. Some people might not like what we have to say, and that's okay. They can continue to watch if they want. But if you feel like this channel is not for you, you don't have to watch these videos. But for the people that have been watching and the community we have been creating, I want to thank you all very much. It means a lot to me, and I hope to have some of you on here at some point in time. It'd be great to have some of my followers um, chime in on the discussion. And there's a lot of you that I think would be a lot of fun to have on. And if you want to be on, message me. And I might maybe just message some of you to see if you want to be on. That's what I had today for part 2 of Church Hurt. And I hope you got something out of it. And I hope you have a great day and a great rest of your week. And enjoy your weekend. It's Friday tomorrow. Have a good week.